lecture series of operating system. In today's session, we are continuing with the topic of process management. Myself, Krunal Panchal, your instructor. In today's session, we are going to discuss the concept of process control block. It is also known as task control block. Okay, and the acronym of process control block is nothing but PCB. So PCB stands for process control block. Now, before going to jump into the process control block directly, whatever we have discussed in the last lecture, let us quickly brief that stuff because that concept is useful to understand priorly before going to understand the concept of process control block. So, in the last lecture, we have seen the difference between program and process. So, what is program? Program is nothing but set of instruction which resides in secondary memory. And what is process? Process is nothing but program in execution. Now, what is the task of operating system? So, operating system is responsible to create a process. Then that process will be executed in the CPU. So, operating system will fetch one program from the secondary memory and put it into a main memory for later execution. Okay, so once the operating system put that program into a main memory, it will create one structure in main memory, and that structure contains one internal data structure called PCB, process control block. Okay, so what is PCB? So PCB is nothing but one internal data structure which is associated with each process in the main memory. Means whatever the number of processes we have, same number of process control block we have in main memory. Okay, so as I told you, what is process control block? So operating system keeps an internal data structure to describe each process it manages. Okay. So when OS creates process, it creates this process control block in main memory. So each process is represented in the operating system by a process control block, and it is also known as task control block, as I told you earlier. So when you say process, when you say job, when you say task, these are one and same thing with respect to the operating system. Okay, so now once we understood what is process control block and what is the usage or the significance of process control block, let us discuss what process control block contains. Okay, so process control block will have one structure once it is created. Means it contains so many fields within it. So what is process control block? Actually, if you correlate with real life situation, if you want to uniquely identify a particular person over the India, so what you should have, Aadhaar card or is a passport, okay, through which we can uniquely identify a particular person all over the India. Same way, and Aadhaar card contains so many fields like your name, your sex detail, your gender, your postal address, okay, etc. So same way, in the case of operating system, there are specifically when we are talking about multi-programming operating system, okay, in which more than one processes are ready for execution in the main memory. So we need to have some mechanism through which we can identify a particular process uniquely. So the first field of process control block contains process identification. So uh, this field contains one unique number to which we can uniquely identify a particular process in main memory. Okay, so this is the significance of process identification field. Now the next field is priority number. So what is priority number? So priority number is associated with each process. And what is the significance of priority number? So if you correlate this thing with real life situation, so in real life situations, like say for example, our politicians, IAS, IPS officers we have, so they have higher priority as compared to the normal people. Like if politician is going on onto the road, okay, so the road will be blocked for some amount of time. So why? Because they have given the higher priority as compared to the normal people, because they are responsible to manage the system in a proper manner. Yes, so same way in the case of operating system, there are two types of processes. One is system processes and second one is user processes. So system processes generally have higher priority as compared to user processes. Why? Because if system processes, for example, uh, one process we have which maintains the temperature of the CPU. So that is system process. Okay, and if that process do not give the higher priority, you can imagine what will happen after a fixed period of time. Yes, so if it, so that's why the system processes will have the higher priority as compared to the user processes. Okay, so this is the priority number, and each process have its own priority number, and according to that, it will be scheduled for execution based on its priority. Now the third field is program counter. So what is program counter? Program counter is nothing but special type of register which store the address of the next instruction to be executed. So what it means? Suppose a process, for example, a single process contains 10 instructions, and out of 10, 6 instruction is already executed. Now the seventh instruction means what? The next instruction needs to be executed. So how CPU will come to know that which instruction needs to be executed? Okay, so that address is stored in the program counter, and based on the address of the program counter, CPU will fetch that instruction and execute it. Yeah. So program counter is nothing but a special type of register which store the address of the next instruction to be executed. Okay. Now the another field is memory allocation. What is memory allocation? So memory allocation is associated with memory management tasks. Like it contains set of index registers, limit registers, set of page tables and all. Okay. The another field is IO status information. IO status information means input output status information. Means a process, each and every process will maintain whatever the input output devices it using, okay, for its execution. So that information is stored in this particular field. Okay. Then list of open files means there are chances a same file can be opened by two different processes at a same moment of time. So to avoid the inconsistency, we need to keep track of the list of open files. Means if one user, or basically if one process is reading something, once it's open that file, okay, at the same time if another process is writing something, once it is opened, so what will happen? if reading and writing, these two operations are conflicting operations, means if these two operations perform simultaneously on the same file, same open file, definitely it will lead to inconsistency. Yes, so to avoid inconsistency, the process will keep track of the open files. Okay. Now the next field is accounting information. Accounting information means it maintains the information regarding how many resources is used in this particular process. So CPU resources in terms of CPU, in terms of memory. So that information is residing in this particular field. Now the next one is number of registers. So registers are basically used for temporary storage. So if process is doing its execution, so during execution it requires some uh, information or is it data to compute for a temporary purpose. Okay, or it requires to store something for temporary basis. So that data would be stored temporarily in this particular registers, and that value will be used later on once it requires. Okay. Now the last field is nothing but process state. What is process state? So we will have a separate session regarding process states. But right now I'm giving you the brief idea regarding process state. So process state is nothing but during its entire lifespan, process may have in different states. So process may have in a ready state, or can say running state, terminated state, waiting state we can say, or can say blocking state. So that information resides in this particular field. So there are different fields we have in process control block. So this is all about the process control block. Okay. Now how this process control block stored in the memory. So as I told you, each process will have a separate process control block, and these process control blocks are associated with one data structure called linked list. Means these PCBs, various PCBs, okay, are connected with the help of your linked list. So what is the advantage of maintaining this information in terms of linked list? So if you, because in multi-programming there are multiple processes are going on, okay, simultaneously. So we need to keep track which process is in which particular state, which process is doing which type of resources. Okay, all these things, in all these informations we need to keep track. So that's why if you want to fetch a particular information from a particular process, we can easily reach to that process once it is uh, stored in terms of linked list. So we can easily fetch whatever the information we require, and according to that fetched information, we can take appropriate decision in the CPU. Okay, so this is the all about process control block. I hope it was clear to you. Thanks for watching this video. See you in the next one.